Idalats Story. Underscore 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 underscore. A couple of months ago I had just woken up. It was about 7 in the morning. My room was brightly lit by the sun coming in through the windows. I saw a very pale woman with black knotted hair staring at my rose painting. I blinked and she was gone. I've never felt so scared in my life, not by the same person. Shadow Man. My first experience happened when I was probably around the age of 6. It was around 9 or 10 in the morning. I know this because during this time in the morning the sun is very bright in my room. I woke up and laid in bed for a few minutes just rolling around, stretching, etc. Then I sat up and saw a dark shadow of a man standing in my doorway. If you have ever heard of shadow people, then you know what I am about to describe. He was in the shape of a man but a pitch black shadow. I could not see through him, with no distinctive facial features, but he did have a hat on. Remember, it is completely lit by sunlight. My bed was in the middle of the room at the time and the door was at the end of the bed to the left. The shadow man came in and stood at the end of my bed. I didn't know what to think or even to be scared, so I just went to get off the bed. When I did so, the shadow man came to the side I was trying to get off from, so I went for the other side and he ran around to that side too. I backed up to the corner and he went and stood back at the end of the bed. At this point I knew he was something to be feared. I screamed and started to cry for my mom and dad, whose bedroom was directly across the hall from mine, maybe 3 feet. As I began to scream and cry, the shadow man ran out of the room and down the hall quicker than any human could ever run. At the same time I hear a loud click, the cocking of a gun, and my father runs out of his room with his shotgun and I scream at him. There was a man in my room and he ran down the hall. My father, of course, ran down the hall and checked every room, door, window, nothing. When I was older, probably around 18, I asked my dad about that morning. He said he distinctively remembers that day because he was already awake and getting his gun loaded when he heard me scream. He had been awakened by noises and he thought someone had broken in. .4 Demonic men. My second experience happened when I was 14, again in my bedroom. My bed at this time was up against the wall that my door was on, the foot of the bed at the door. In the right bottom corner of the room I had a dresser with a mirror caddy cornered by my closet. I have always been afraid of the dark and that stays true to this day, so, as always, I had a well-lit lamp on throughout the night. That it was probably around 2 or 3 a.m. when I woke up on my left side facing my wall. My cat had woke me up by biting my nose, his favorite way to wake me, wanting attention. He laid on my right side as I rubbed him for about 15 minutes. He suddenly looked back behind him and crawled off me and laid down beside me facing my dresser. I thought nothing of it, just thought he got what he wanted and he was over it. I turned around to get comfortable and when I did, I saw what he was staring at. 4 tall men standing in front of my dresser staring at me. Now let me say, I have been followed home and almost attacked, as well as robbed at gunpoint and choked by the robber. Neither of these situations brought anywhere near the fear I felt this night. I was paralyzed, couldn't breathe, scream, cry, move, nothing. The 4 men were very tall, they were all dressed the same but had different faces and haircuts. Some men had long black hair down their back and others about shoulder length. They were all wearing all black, long black trench coats, almost like the style of a military trench coat, black pants, big thick black boots, very Gothic-like. The thing that stood out the most was their unhuman-like fair white skin, completely black eyes, and the thing that still haunts my memories, they had claws, black claws. Their hands were like yours and mine, but where our fingernails are, they had dark black claws. I know this sounds extreme and probably made up, but I swear on my life this happened that I have searched and searched online and I can find others who have seen things like I did on instance 1 and 3. But the 4 men, no one, I feel alone. After these men disappeared, I laid there in shock for probably an hour. After I finally got up the courage to get up, I crawled to the end of the bed where my light switch was and flipped on the overhead light. I then checked under my bed and in my closet, probably holding my breath the whole time. I stood there for a few minutes, then decided to get my parents, whose room again is directly across the hall from mine. I opened the door and the hall was dark. I could see light from the living room coming from the TV. My dad would fall asleep on the couch a lot with the TV on. Although it was 3 feet away, I couldn't build up the courage to walk 2 steps across the dark hallway to get my mom, or even yell out for her or my dad. I sat on my bed until the sun came up and I heard my parents wake up. I told them about my encounter and of course I got, "You were just dreaming." No sir, no ma'am, I was wide awake when this happened. No one else in my house has ever claimed to see anything, but my dad says that he has heard things sometimes throughout the years. It has haunted me for years and to this day I want to know why I seen this and what it is. I know it's some kind of demon. It almost looked like they could be the devil's guards or something. Cloaked figure. Third experience. I'll keep it short since this unlike instance 1, I have found many others have seen this. I was 16. I had came home from school. It was about 3:30 and no one was home. I went to the bathroom, which is in the middle of the hallway. As I came out I quickly looked both ways like you do when crossing the road. I think it's just habit. I quickly took another look to my left, living room area. Up against the wall stood a tall dark black cloaked figure. I didn't see any hands or feet, they were covered by the cloak. It was staring straight forward and never turned to look at me. This cloaked figure stood so straight up against the wall, no human could do this due to our curves in our back and body. It was flat against the wall looking forward that I could have set the carpet on fire as fast as I took off the other direction to my bedroom. I locked the door and called my dad, freaking out, begged him to come home because I was too scared to walk out through the house and I had to be at work at 500. My father and my mother have both seen spirits in their lives at my grandmother's old house, yet he refused to come home, said I would be fine. So me, being the big chicken I am, with good reason I think. I opened my window, knocked the screen out and jumped out, jumped in my car and I was out of there. Now here's my thing. I was 6 years old when I saw these evil-looking things. I have always been a full-blown believer in Jesus Christ. I am a Christian and I just don't understand what made me see these things, especially starting at such a young age. I can't count how many nights I stayed up crying to my mom, scared to go to sleep and asking why I saw these things. If you're wondering if I've ever played with a Ouija board, yes I have. I was in the 4th grade at a friend's sleepover and nothing happened. Not saying that couldn't have opened me up to something, but what about the time before that? Definitely no better now though. I just don't feel that was it. But my main concern and questions are about the 4 men.